And we are live.
We're doing it.
Let's do it.
Just gonna take this off, just realised.
Excellent.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so hello and welcome to the Good Sex Podcast. I'm Lou and with me I have the beautiful Mia. And as the name suggests, we're here to talk about everything sex. Like, you know, getting down dirty, making the beast with two backs, hopping on the good foot and doing the bad things. You get the general gist. So let's talk shit, drink tea, and get on with it. Talk about all things about the act itself, fetishes, menstruation, masturbation, all the fun stuff and some of the not so fun stuff too. So let's go.
This week we wanted to get a little cozy and all get to know each other a little bit better. So grab some tea and settle in to hear about what good sex means to us, how often we masturbate, among other things that we should all be talking about more often. Because
Definitely.
Why the heck not? If you would like to share your thoughts on anything we talk about today, start a discussion on Twitter using the hashtag RandyRabbit. There are so many different types of sex and ways to get down and dirty that the best way to find out what someone is into is to ask. So Lou, what kind of sex do you like?
That's a fascinating question, Mia. Thank you for asking. So I'm kind of into a little bit rough. A little rough and fast, fast but still long. No, not to finish too soon.
No, not a rush.
Not a
you
rush.
know.
Just considerate.
Passionate.
Yes, exactly. Passionate is a good word. I'm not so much into the slow and intimate hand-holding, intense eye contact unless you're like biting your lip or something. Interspersed is fine with it, but it can't be the whole thing, you know. I like variance. It has to have a bit of everything, but generally I much prefer to just like completely go wild, let go, and just like animalistic nail dragging down the back and biting, all the fun stuff, you know? And I think that's really fun. Also love me a bit of fair play, getting into that. It's fun, you know, and it's also great. Allows your partner to explore their deepest fantasies, or maybe it's something to do every day. And you just get to tag along for the ride. Either way is super fun. I definitely advise being open to trying stuff. I like to say, as Samantha said in Sex and the City, I'm a trisexual. I'll try anything once. It's a good attitude to have in life.
It's a good line.
Yeah.
She has a lot of those.
Yeah. So what about you? What's your preferred style?
Well, I definitely don't think I've had as much experience as you, Lou. However, I do very much enjoy sex, and especially being a cam girl, I have had my eyes open to many fetishes, many different ways of sex and things that I'm into. So, not that I've necessarily personally tried everything I want to try yet, but you know, slow and steady.
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race in regards to trying, but not slow and steady sex for me. I'm definitely into really passionate sex. I like intense, passionate sex. I'm into eye contact.
Yes, definitely.
But
it's important.
It's not like...
It's not loving. It's not gazing affectionately at your lover. It's more
No.
intensely boring a hole into their soul with your eyes. You know, really making that distinct connection. Like I'm gonna fuck you hard. Like I'm gonna watch you while I do it. It's a different experience altogether.
I agree.
Yeah. So, how often do you masturbate? What's your rate?
We didn't talk enough about good sex, but this is another one. I go in big waves in regards to masturbation. Yeah. So I feel like there's a sweet spot when my mental health is at a nice medium. I'm consistent and steady.
Yeah.
And that's probably when I masturbate just the right amount of time. A couple times a week, you know. Yeah, that's probably my good ratio.
It's different for everyone too.
Yeah.
Like different folks for different strokes is something you'll probably hear me say a lot because it rings true every time.
Should be a catchphrase, you know?
Catchphrase, yeah. It is, it definitely is. Like everyone likes different things. And that's another thing about good sex. Good is not a finite term.
It's very relative.
Exactly. Good is different for everyone. Great is different for everyone. So is bad. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's all relative to you. But yeah, no, you gotta do what feels good for you. What works for you.
Yeah. What's gonna get Phil off, you know, isn't necessarily gonna make Karen want to shave her legs in preparation.
Yeah, she's not excited. She's not excited
it's just everyone's different, you know.
Yeah.
That's important, and it's gotta be a big theme in everything we talk about.
Definitely. Nothing we say should be taken as gospel. We are definitely speaking from our own experiences, personal anecdotal kind of experience, because you know how I flick my bean isn't necessarily how you like to flick your bean. It's all very different stuff.
True.
Yeah. So masturbation is important, I believe.
Very important.
It's I find it important for my mental health.
I 100% agree, and you know what? Because when my mental health is the lowest, I probably masturbate some of the most.
Yeah.
But it's good, you need those little dopamine hits, you know?
Right?
I'm doing it for a purpose. It serves its purpose, very much so.
Yeah, and I do not like it when the schedule gets full and getting busy. I don't have time to romance my nethers as much as I would like. You know, you gotta quickly whack one out in the shower before your day begins. And that's not what I like to do. I like to burn some incense, have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
You know, really, really wine and dine the vagina. Gotta get about it.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably, a couple times a week. I have a lot of sex. I consistently have a lot of sex. And when I am consistently having more sex, I find I don't masturbate as much, because it's like, well, I'm outsourcing that task to someone else.
Yeah,
so I'm fine. But then other times I'm rampant, unstoppable, shoving my hands down my pants every chance I get. And I think a huge part of that for women is definitely where they are on their cycle.
Very, very true.
Yeah, where you're at. Cruelly, like when you're on your period. Climbing walls.
Yes.
ready to jump the next willing male that speaks to me. It's a thing. It's not good. I don't feel super great about how wild I get.
It's not fair. It's not nice. It's a cruel joke. It's a cruel joke, you know.
It very much is. But then at the same time, a little bit of menstrual blood has never hurt anyone. You know, just put down a drop cloth. Get your good friend out, your vibrator, your magic wand, whatever you're using, your hand, you know, and just go for it.
Enjoy yourself, you know.
Yeah, or I find when you're on your period, the bath is always a great option.
Oh yes, just have a nice shower before and after, you know.
Exactly, because then you don't have, if you're in the bath already, it saves cleanup time. You're not having to do a whole cleanup crew, just you just came really hard. You're all nice and pink-faced, and then you're in the glow, the afterglow of the orgasm, and then you're like, fuck, I better tend to all this mess. Don't have to. Just pull the plug out the bath, problem solve it.
No one wants to do that. No one wants to clean up, you know.
No, it's definitely my most begrudging task when masturbating is cleaning my toys afterwards.
It just ruins it a little bit, even in the moment. You're like, I'm gonna have to clean this up later.
Yeah, and then sometimes, if I'm quite lazy, if I don't want to have to stand up afterwards, I'll just be like, nah, I'm just gonna go to sleep instead.
Yeah. You know what I just realized, but for all our friends with penises, that must be really rough. Or if you are a female ejaculator who ejaculates every time you come, not that you necessarily do. Yeah. You know, it's not every time, but that would be so annoying.
Definitely.
God.
So many tissues. Having to buy, the thought of buying tissues specifically for that purpose that would be annoying. I mean, I know male friends with penises, and talking to them about this and being like, so, you know, talking about the being come on, and they're like, I come on myself regularly, and I'm like, wow, yeah, you do. That would be a thing, definitely. And then hairy men, got a little hairy belly.
Oh yes, no fun.
No, you're jumping in the shower straight away afterwards, and then you add hot water to semen glue. It's how you make a really natural glue.
I keep that in mind.
Yeah. If ever you're in a bind and you're desperate for an adhesive, you know.
If you're ever in a bind and need a bind.
Yeah, hey. Yeah, and same as I know one of my sexual partners, my lovers, if you will, really quite a impressive ejaculation.
Oh.
There's a lot of it and it goes quite far.
It's always fun.
He's even hit himself in the face before when ejaculating, and I think that is one of my favourite things to envision for comedy purposes alone, because that just being hit in the eye by your own spunk.
Truly incredible. The moment, I want to see the change in facial expression from the pure ecstasy to, oh, I can't see, my eyes stinging, you know? Like, I love the...
Yeah, it's a fun story. All true. Yeah, so, no, and again, I don't really watch porn to masturbate. I have a very overactive imagination at the best of times. I do not need to encourage it. So I'm usually just I'll put on some music. I have housemates, so I'll put on some music as a courtesy.
You have to, especially if you're using a vibrator, one of those loud bad boys.
Yes, or even just I am not a quiet person. I find it really hard to come if I'm having to be quiet. I'm like expending all of my energy focusing on not screaming, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, which means that I'm not being present with my...
Not in the moment.
Not with being present with my yoni, you know, not giving her all of my attention, which it disrupts my flow. So yeah, I just kind of like to, you know, sometimes I'll put on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and you know, and then I get distracted. Has that ever happened to you? You get distracted mid-wank and you're like, start laughing at what's happening on the screen instead of actually, and you like forget what you're doing for a minute. It's a thing. I'm like, wow, I have the brain of a child.
Really, always. But I quite enjoy that. Got the house to yourself, you know, roommates out for the night. Just chuck on a good TV show and just enjoy yourself throughout the night. It doesn't again, no rush, guys.
No.
You've got all the time in the world.
Yeah, and I mean this was my favourite pastime from probably the ages of 11 to present, is masturbating. It's a good way to pass time. It's free. You know, you can do it for free. You can do it in your own home. You can do it alone. You can do it with friends. It's really a versatile activity to be indulging in. And as a chubby child that wasn't really into sports and didn't have any friends, you'll find no better company than your own hand. Honestly. And I mean, I think if you, there's the other side though, there's the flip side of the masturbating too much.
Definitely.
And I advise, if you are having issues with that, if you find that you are probably, you know, a little bit too eager, too keen, just go talk to a doctor, seek some help about that.
Yeah.
Again, sex is therapy, but sex can also be a negative sort of symptom of something bigger going on. So just be super aware.
Yeah. Like anything, you know, check in with yourself.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on your habits and how things are making you feel before
and make sure it's not
after.
disrupting your life. You know, you still gotta pay your rent, see your friends, do your dishes. You know, just like make sure you're doing general life admin's not suffering. Well, otherwise, carry on.
Enjoy yourself.
With our full support. You know?
Oh, tick of approval.
Yes.
Speaking of tick of approval, the current sex education system, certainly in Australia, where we live,
yes.
and I'm sure many other places in the world, don't think anywhere is like top notch quite yet.
No.
The sex education system isn't really up to our standards.
Or any standards. I find it. I mean, it's been a considerable number of years since I was in high school now, and did the whole sex ed class. But I do remember it. These are things you remember as a teenager, and we pretty much spent multiple years just obsessed with sex. Not much has changed. I now just have a healthy outlet for it. Actual sex. So you know, but it was the sex ed. I find it would either be like very, very heavy on biological info, like your anatomy, which is all very important. We all should know these things, which we will get to next week. But there was no kind of real talk, real world talk about the realities of of all the sex, of what it is for you, and especially when you're a teenager, you know, it's a confusing time, lots of urges, lots of peer pressure, there's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of people finger banging behind the showers down by the swimming pool, you know, it's a confronting time for young people, and the sex education is just not supporting them on on their first steps of this journey that will see them through the rest of their life, you know, that's the thing, this is important. We all do it, we do it for a long time, and it's important that we talk about it from an early age, you know, destigmatize the sex.
Completely agree. I think in the household as well, I think it's something, although no one really wants to talk about sex with their parents, and I totally understand that, but it should be, and if it's more of a normalized thing, especially from a young age,
definitely
talking about respect, talking about relations, consent, all these things are so crucial. The emotional part of sex is a big part, and it's not necessarily everything, it doesn't have to be everything, but it is an important aspect. And
at the end of the day, even if you're not emotionally invested in the other person you're having sex with, you have to be emotionally invested in you.
100%.
So you're still having a relationship with yourself and making sure sex is a positive part of that relationship with yourself. And I mean, I was incredibly lucky. I definitely grew up in a household where sex was super normalized. My parents, disgusting. Been married far too long to be that much in love. I'd catch them making out on the couch, making out in the kitchen, you know, we knew when they were having sex because the music would be playing in the bedroom at 11 p.m. and the door would be mysteriously closed. So we knew what was up. I mean, you don't want to talk about it or think about it too long, but it definitely allowed me this great sort of attitude towards it, this openness, this normalized view of sex, and made me the horrible sex monster I am today. So thank you, parents. Thank you for that.
Woo, good job, guys.
Definitely. It's that's the thing. It's like sexual education is multifaceted and should be. It should be all areas of life.
Absolutely.
You know, I think a lot of young people now are getting too much sexual education from porn. Like, can I just say,
porn isn't sex ed. It's not, you
porn
know,
is
like
not sex.
it's entertainment. That's what porn is.
Porn is barely sex. Like, I've had a lot of sex in my life, and I never has that sex looked anything like what you see in porn. Ever. Porn is like usually a woman being fucked. It is not two people fucking or having sex or enjoying each other's bodies. It's two people at work getting a job done.
Which is what it is.
It is what it is. And that is, you know, we will get to pornography as well. We'll have many conversations about it.
Absolutely.
But it's one of those things that this is not what you should be modelling your sexual experiences after.
It should certainly not be your main source of information.
No, God, no. I mean, and then also I feel mainstream media, you know, I remember a lot of rom-coms growing up and things like that. You would always get to the juicy part. You're excited, you're ready. They're about to have sex. And then they do what I call the lean and fade. So it's where they would lean in on the bed and the shot would fade out. And you're like, that's what happens. Like, I'm thoroughly disappointed. And also, before you have sex yourself, you're kind of like, what does happen? What's going on? What's the tea on this? Because you just, until you know, you don't know.
Yeah.
And the problem is sex ed is not putting young people in the know. There's a lot of lacks of knowledge. I mean, what do you wish? Do you remember your sex ed as a teenager?
Yeah, hardly any sex ed. Like, I remember a tiny bit in primary school where we talked purely about like periods. It was split off, which I hate.
Oh yeah.
I hate taking the men and females like segregation. No.
So apparently
no. We both need to know about each other. We're gonna have sex with each other. Not everyone, you know, teach their own sexual orientation, whatever. But we all need to know what's going on with the other. So we're understanding and
I don't know, it kind of reinforces that idea that like men can, oh God forbid they have to know anything about periods or menstruating. It's only the only reason they currently exist. Like, come on, guys. Like, it's completely normal, and we should all be talking about it. Like, get the men involved. They need to be up on that business. It will help them greatly in understanding relationships they have with women if they can just understand this very important thing that happens to a woman once a month for a good 50 years of her life. Like, that's an important thing, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then how was did you have a high school sex ed? Did you
Again, the tiniest bit. I remember a couple of classes. It wasn't even a real class on my timetable or anything.
Oh, wow. Just kind of
which
an
in itself,
impromptu, throw it
it was
together.
just in my health class,
Right.
like a biology thing. We did a couple of classes on it. It's just nowhere near enough information at such a time when it's all that teenagers are thinking about.
Oh,
we
definitely.
need to be talking about
it's
it.
the primary motivation for everything you do from the age of 15 to 18. That's it. There is one priority in your life, and it's sex.
I think that there should be not necessarily a young person, but I think certain information would come better from a young person.
Oh, definitely.
And it comes into class and just has a bit of a young, real casual chat about everything.
Well, I think that comes down to a lot of, we live in a very different age now. We live in an age which is much more sexually open, and that I think that people from an previous or older generation, they have different societal views on what is appropriate to talk about, what's inappropriate to talk about, what the roles of men and women are sexually and in all areas of life. So it can be a little disjointed to have someone who's in their 60s providing you information about sex when you're a teenager, because you do feel like they don't understand, and there is a certain there is an age gap, there is a difference in experience. I remember vividly my sexual health classes. I had a male teacher, which I wasn't super comfortable with, because you are sitting there a little bit being like, but he doesn't have a vagina. It's hard to go to someone like that with questions specifically about things like that, because you just don't feel like they can really provide the answers. They may be able to, but it definitely was a bit
from not a
off-putting.
personal point of view, which is what I think is really important. It needs to be genuine. It needs to come from their kind of personal experience. Because we need to be able to relate, especially teenagers are already so
Oh
angsty and difficult. They need to be able to relate to someone, to be able to take that information in and for it to really sink in.
Yeah, because I remember him talking about it was deeply uncomfortable. We were all deeply uncomfortable, was the definite vibe of the room. But he was talking about his wife, and he was saying, I was the first man she ever had sex with, and I am the only man she has ever had sex with. Really kind of proving my point about the age gap thing and how different things really were. And then it was very uncomfortable. I was like, I don't want to know about your wife's vagina. But he was kind of it was definitely a bit creepy. It was not great. They really double down on the be safe, which I think is important.
Yeah,
it is important.
100%.
But it's be safe doing what? Because you're kind of missing that whole, it's a disjointed information. You're like, I'm not getting a whole picture here. I got a jigsaw. I'm missing lots of bits. I'm having some trouble putting this picture together. And a lot of us learn through experience. I feel like my real valuable sex education was sitting in the undercover area at recess and lunch with my girlfriends, on the floor, cross-legged, drinking Masters Choc Chills, and talking about the boy that fingered you at the party on the weekend. What it was like, all the different... we even developed a Wangopedia in high school, where we would collectively, through storytelling, devise a system of penises. The penises are new.
As all females have done throughout the ages.
Oh, they really have. It's a vital tool, because penises are many varied in shape, size and function, and it's fascinating, You're like, wow, this little slug, quite cute. Some are quite cute. Have his little pet. Fun to play with. I know why boys masturbate a lot. If I had a penis, you would not be able to stop me.
Oh, yes. No, so easy. God.
So
Apart from
fun.
the clean up, as we mentioned earlier. But.
So fun to play with. So fun to play with. But yeah, so I feel like the majority of my sex education was just through anecdotal experience of other teenagers, which is great, but also not the whole picture.
Also, because you all just don't know shit. So it's all very, you learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Which if you can avoid it, you might as well avoid it.
I mean, I feel like giving my first blowjob, that was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? And the name blowjob, incredibly misleading. You're not doing much blowing. I don't understand.
Like, blowjobs should be mentioned. Like,
oral
nothing's
sex.
even talked about.
Oh my
That's the problem, is like, it's biology, like, which is super important as we've discussed, but there's so many other things. We actually need to talk about sex. Like, this is what sex is. So many.
Like,
oral
oral sex.
foreplay.
Like, all of it. And, the clitoris. Let's talk about sexual education through a framework of pleasure.
Yes.
There is no sense of pleasure or levity when we're talking about sex education, which is sad because it should be a hugely joyous
100%.
experience.
Which it is. Everyone likes sex. The reason we have sex is because it feels good. Who are we fooling?
Yeah.
Like,
if it didn't feel good, we wouldn't do it because your body goes through a significant amount of physical stress while having sex. But the whole point of human life, or any life, is to reproduce. So therefore, whoever created us was like, we're going to make this thing really fun so that they do it all the time. Then there's more of them, and life continues on. Like, it is a simple equation, but it is fun, and it should be fun. Like,
100%.
Like, I feel like there's certain things that, I think that's going back to what is good sex, good sex is joyful. It's fun.
yes.
There is a sense of happiness and levity in the sex that you're having with someone else. It's even, because that's the whole point, right?
100%. Even people who are into extreme degradation and stuff, they still find it fun.
They're
doing it for a reason because they enjoy it.
They're enjoying that stuff.
You want to enjoy having sex.
Yeah.
Enjoy each other. Enjoy yourself.
And the best way to do that is masturbate. Get to know yourself. Get to know what makes you tick, what makes you scream with joy.
Know your body.
Yeah, and then also that is really, really helped by having good sex education about not only the physical bits, but about how those physical bits work for pleasure, not just for having babies or menstruating. It's a very important to talk about it, and I just feel like it's not being done. And I understand there's a lot of fear around talking about it.
A lot of politics too, but we need to get over it. School is for education.
Yes.
It's not for any kind of, I mean, it is for values, that's important, but it's not telling us...
But who decides what values are
Exactly.
being taught?
It's an education system.
And
it
we
should
are
be about
secular.
education.
We are secular. That is an important thing to remember, is I do not think that the church has any place in sexual education. No matter what your religious leanings are or your spiritual leanings are, like, realistically, this stuff, it's about protecting yourself physically, it's about protecting yourself emotionally, it's about like establishing an environment to talk about these things where you can talk about it with respect. And you can learn to be really confident in yourself and your knowledge about these things. And the more respect you have for yourself, the less likely you are to let other people disrespect you, which is hugely important, especially for young people.
Absolutely.
When we talk about sex.
Especially if you have no idea what you're doing.
Exactly. And unfortunately that's a thing that very much happens as especially young girls. It also happens to young men, being railroaded and being put in situations where they're doing things they're not comfortable with because they don't know any different. And they don't have the confidence or the knowledge to know what is being done to them isn't how it's supposed to go. And that's not good. That's not what should be happening. Everyone should be confident and empowered through knowledge about sex.
Absolutely.
From as early as is possible, like you're 13, 14, we should start talking about this. It's
Oh yeah.
hugely important.
Even earlier than that. Even I think definitely from a school aspect around that age, 100%.
In the home.
And again, yeah, like in the home, it should be like a normal kind of conversation. It shouldn't be
Definitely.
such a big, heavy
100%.
Everyone has sex, everyone's gonna have sex. It's important for it not to be this stigmatized thing.
Exactly. And I think that one thing that is hugely lacking, there have been recently in different countries around the world, in Canada and various other places, there has been a big push to the importance of queer sex education, not just heterosexual sex ed. It's incredibly important. It's a whole different experience, and it's something that should be talked about. If we want to normalize sex, we should normalize all sex. And everyone, you know, we are both queer, we both have different types of sex, and so that's important that we talk about it. Like, sex between two gay men, I mean, it's a whole different experience. It's a whole different experience, and something I'm not hugely educated on it.
Fluent in. Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important that they do. It's hard enough being
Absolutely.
a queer teenager without having to like work through the mystery of this.
Absolutely. It's the same, it's the same as, again, splitting up male and female. You know, it should all be one fluid conversation. We should all be wanting to understand other people and understand
Exactly.
what they need and what they're going through, I guess. Especially at that young age, we should all be grouped together by this one thing. We all are thinking about sex. We all know it, but no one says it.
Yeah.
And if we just talked about it, it'd be way better, and we can just all ask each other questions,
Exactly.
you know, learn together.
If you want to dispel homophobia, you know, I think this would be a really great step towards doing that for young people. Because a lot of these things, a lot of bigotry and a lot of those issues come from fear of the unknown.
Mm.
It's a lack of understanding. So why not just put all the cards on the table so everyone can understand everything? You know, and it goes both ways. I know plenty of gay men who are afraid of vaginas. You know, they just have no kind of... Because, I mean, I understand, they have no vested interest in vaginas. They don't own one, they don't want to have sex with one.
Mm.
But I don't think
Yes.
it would hurt them
To
know.
know. Yeah,
Because
100%.
it just like it wouldn't hurt us to know about their kind of
Yes.
experiences. So it cuts both ways. It's an important subject that is just not being talked about enough, especially for young people. Like, again, they need to really know and have all of that information available to them.
Mm.
They need to be confident to ask questions, to have somewhere they can go to ask those questions. I mean, this is the magic of the internet. You know, we have a platform. You can jump on Reddit, you can jump on any of these kind of places, and you can ask questions, and strangers on the internet will give you answers. But why should it just be that?
Mm.
Why isn't it more available to kids? You know, they want to know about it, and they're having to go out of their way to seek out information. We should just be providing it for them. You know, creating that dialogue between everyone at a young age. Because there are so many different contentious issues related to sex. You know, big thing is consent.
Massive.
Huge.
Massive. Not even touched on.
Yes.
Not even touched on.
Which
in
I think
school.
is a hugely important, even more important if you have boys teaching about consent and
Definitely.
respect.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I mean, there's like a great scene in Take the Lead, the movie with Antonio Banderas. It's amazing. There's lots of dancing. Watch it if you haven't already. But there's a great scene where he kind of proves his point where they're like, why should we allow you to teach them ballroom dancing? They don't need to know that. And he says, you know, if you teach a young woman to be held by a man in a space with respect, she will demand that respect whenever she is encountering a man. If you teach a man to approach a woman and the touch of a woman and touching with respect and kindness, they will do that every time.
Yeah.
They will. So it's a much larger lesson, and you know, I think that's a really good takeaway from that movie. Is like, this is more. It's more than just about dancing. Although we all love a good dance flick, it's also about. Speaking of pussies, it's also about it's about respect. It's about being in physical contact with another human being in a respectful, safe
Absolutely.
way.
My a great piece of advice my dad always said to me. Hasn't given me much, but he always gave me this, and it was always like, I don't care what you want to do with your body, or like with another person. Young, do what you want. As long as you're always respecting the other person and they're always respecting you, that's like all there needs to be, you know?
Yeah.
It's all that matters, really.
And the thing is like, that's a journey to get there. And that's a journey a lot of us have taken.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to get there. You know, you will fuck up. You will make mistakes. You will mistreat people, and you will be mistreated.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's how you learn from it.
And it's 100% fine. You're a teenager. Like, no one... Like, everyone is awful as a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, everyone. There is no exception to that rule.
Teenagers are gross.
So gross. And you all suck. You all suck. I sucked when I was a teenager.
It'll get better, I promise.
Yeah, it's like you just said, you should improve with age. Like a fine wine or a good whiskey. It should just get better as the years go on. And so I think that it's important to give these kids a good stepping stone. I know that I would have loved that. Would have loved to have had that kind of openness. I remember we watched a really awful, like, made-for-TV movie from the 80s with Molly Ringwald in it. It must have been one of her, like, first movies. So bizarre. So I'm, like, a huge Molly Ringwald fan. I, like, wanted to be her as a teenager. I lived that John Hughes fantasy. And so seeing her in this, like, weird movie we're being shown in sex ed about, like, unwanted teen pregnancy, which is another whole kettle of fish, guys.
Yeah.
They also tried to give us the, like, scare us about abortion.
Yeah.
And everything. And, like,
God.
you know, I found that very offensive, because there's a lot of, like, assumptions, and there's a way to kind of scare you about abortion and distort reality to present a particular type of viewpoint because it's a very loaded issue. You know, as I like to say, that's why God invented abortions. So to me, it shouldn't be a big issue. It should be a much more open issue. But this whole movie was so bizarre. It was so bizarre. Like, she got knocked up and she got pregnant, and it was like, I mean, it was like, it's the Scarlet Letter all over again, you know? It's just absolutely ridiculous. But that was basically the conversation about teen pregnancy. Was a 1980s made-for-TV movie starring Molly Ringwald. That was my education on that. And, you know, and then afterwards it was like, there are various different types of contraception you can use. Use a condom. There's fingerdoms, which I've never actually seen. Like, there's little condoms for your fingers. They're supposed to use for, like, fingering and stuff, which I mean, I totally understand. Or you could just wash your hands. But...
yeah, you know, basic...
Yeah, but I mean, the same as, like, I know you can get dental dams, but I've never actually... I'm sure you can get them at a pharmacy. I just haven't ever felt the inclination to. But I was like, wow. And that was it. Didn't even talk about the pill or various female contraceptions, which is something we will cover in great detail. Because that's, you know, I've been on the pill since I was 15. It's a big part of my life, of every young woman's life, or it should be. If you can take the pill, fucking take the pill. Just save yourself some hassle. But it was woeful, I think, is a good word to describe my teenage sex education. I think I was incredibly lucky in the fact that I am by nature curious and direct and enjoy making other people uncomfortable, so I just dived right in there, you know. But there's plenty of kids who aren't that way, who do shy away from these things, and sometimes you just want to, like, rub someone's face in it. It's like,
definitely
get it, you know. Like, it's not everyone's going to go seek that information for themselves, so we should just make them all learn about it. As
much as it's going to be uncomfortable for everyone a little bit, you know, we just got to all get through it, because it's going to work out better for everyone in the long run.
Exactly. And I think the birds and the bees conversation is way more complicated than a man and a woman really love each other very much, and so they decide to make a baby. Like, sex is complex.
People need to be realistic about it.
Yes.
You need a realistic, no, like, holds barred, just straight talking person. Come in talking about everything, you know. Yeah, and that's what you need.
You need a full range of stuff. It's like there's all the health stuff, there's all the biology stuff, and then there's all the pleasure stuff, and there's all the, like, kind of mechanics of it, and that's all important. No one thing is more important than the other in the conversation about sex. It's all important, and all needs to be discussed.
Absolutely.
Or even just to open the door
Yes.
for that discussion to happen.
This is a thing. Now you go and look into it. You know, like figure out for yourself.
Exactly. So if you
100%.
have any questions, if you have any sex-related questions, we can endeavour to find you answers.
Yes.
So just start, what's our hashtag? Randy Rabbit.
Hashtag Randy Rabbit.
Hashtag Randy Rabbit with your queries or your comments about what you wanted to know, have learned since, still haven't learned.
Any sex head horror stories?
Yeah, I mean, I love learning new things, all about that knowledge. So just get amongst it, teach us something new. Endeavour to surprise us.
It's about
thank you for it.
About discussion, we definitely don't want to preach to anyone. We will probably.
Yeah, definitely.
But
give me a soapbox, and I'll give it my best go.
But it's all about discussion. That's really what's important. We all want to learn from each other. Opening up a dialogue about it.
Definitely.
Is what we're all about.
It's the bit, it's strong opinions loosely held.
Exactly.
It is, having opinions about things, but having the courage to know that you may be wrong.
Yes.
So prove us wrong.
And again, that's okay.
Yeah, 100%. I love being proven wrong. I love learning. Love learning more, having my mind changed, which is fun. It's fun. It's a new
good
challenge.
Yeah.
Which, kind of all of this encapsulates obviously our opinions on why we think it's important to talk about sex.
Yes.
It's we very much believe in a sex positive attitude in all areas of life. It's important. It's fun. It's something that you will do for a long time. And that, we spend a lot of time, money, and effort around this thing, around relating. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to not only pleasure, but it comes down to connection. We all crave human connection. We are creatures of community. And we crave connection however you have that, however you choose to have that in your life. We still want it. And it's important. All of these things really do help you connect with other human beings, even being comfortable with touch, things like that. It's a very, very important, I think, and it's very important we fucking talk about sex. It's fun.
Yeah.
One, it's interesting.
Everyone does it. It's fun.
And it's interesting. It's so fascinating because there's just so many things you can talk about.
So many things.
Everyone has so many different experiences and fun stories and horror stories and it's great. I only would say in the last year I have felt comfortable giving a wristy.
Really?
Yeah. It was always something I was so just unsure about.
Really?
I didn't really know. And then I was like, wow. And so I made my ex-boyfriend, I asked. I wasn't...
Consent is key.
Enthusiastic consent. But I really encouraged him to masturbate in front of me. I wanted to see how he did it.
It's hot.
It's also fun. But that really helped me kind of work out what I should be doing as far as a hand job goes. Because again, it's one of those things, it's like there's no one's actually teaching you this stuff. There's no kind of manual on it. It is like you kind of just gotta feel it and feel it out, and it was one thing. I was always like, I'd rather put it in my mouth than have it in my hand, because super confident in my blowjob skills. Not so much on the wristy. But now I feel incredibly confident. I've had lots of practice now. Yeah, woo! 2018 goal complete.
Proud of you.
Give a great wristy. Dreaming big over here.
Oh yes.
But it was kind of like a weird thing that at the age of 25 I finally feel comfortable doing that to a man, which I've had I've had lots of experience with the penis, so it's kind of bizarre that it took so long for me to get comfortable in that, because that's the other thing. It's fine if you're not comfortable doing things.
100%.
It's a process. It's practice. It's the right people together. Some people you just don't have sexual chemistry with.
And even if you're asexual and don't like sex, still talk about it. It's still interesting.
Yeah, talk about your asexuality. That's a thing.
Yes,
I'm actually
100%.
super interested. I'm super fascinated as someone who is incredibly sexual about asexuality. So if anyone out there listening is asexual or knows someone who is or has those inclinations, please tweet us, message us. We want to hear about it. I really want to hear about it. I want to do a whole episode on it. It's going to be so far outside my comfort zone. That's going to be 2019 goals, understanding asexuality. Because it's super fascinating.
Yeah, I completely agree. And to be honest, I feel like I'm either asexual or hypersexual.
Right.
I'm like, there's definitely been a lot of times in my life where I've really felt completely asexual, but I definitely consider myself a very sexual person at the same time. So I feel like I'm either one or the other.
I mean, I definitely exist very much on one end of the scale. Talking about it with a friend, I was saying, so like if you had like the horniness scale, so sort of like a 1 to 10, and so you'd say like 5 is average, and and then like every person kind of sits at their baseline of always is at a different point on that scale. I would say my baseline at any given point in time is about a 6. 6 up. Yeah. So if it's less than a 6, there's something wrong. I've probably got a flu. Because I just I'm very hypersexual. Yeah. Often, like even my response was when someone was saying, are you ever not horny? I was like, sure. But I'd still say yes if someone were to offer it. And they're like, that's still horny. And I'm like, is it? Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It totally is. I love it. But that's the other thing. It's every person is different. Yeah. Everyone's sex drive is different. It's affected by so many other factors as well. So it's important to be aware of that. And, just at the end of the day, just do you. Like, there is no judgment. There should not be judgment. Yeah. Some people love having sex all the time. Some people don't. And you know what?
Teach their own, man.
Yeah.
Teach their own.
Different strokes for different folks.
This is our catchphrase.
Every time. I'm going to fall back on this statement too much. You're going to hate me for saying it soon. But it's true. You know, it's everyone is individual in their desires and requirements. Whereas, and that's fine. That's super fun. Yeah. That's what makes us all interesting, is that?
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just trying to find people who do match your sexual proclivities. So that's really important, it's finding the people who you gel with sexually. And I mean that's what dating is for.
Which we will also be doing
very shortly. Big series on dating, actually.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to go through.
So many things, we're probably going to end up keep going back to them because we're still learning.
100%, like anything. Yeah,
and we're experiencing new things every day. I had many new sexual experiences in 2018, and that's it was fun. I loved some of it, hated other things. Got to try some new fetishes. And some new fet play, which I hadn't known before. Turns out, love the feet thing. Suck on my feet all you like. Amazing. Getting peed on, indifferent. I'm indifferent to the pee. Not a huge. Didn't really float my boat, so to speak. I didn't really tickle my pickle. Well, his pickle was tickled, but not mine. So, you learn. It's a process. Big process. So yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty much covered for our introduction. I feel like we know each other better.
We do. I feel like we're closer now.
Yeah.
Already knew a fair bit about each other, but I mean, now I know Lou's conquered the hand job.
Yeah, thank you.
Just another round of applause.
Thank you. It's a moment. I feel like I should get myself a trophy.
Definitely. Smashing goals.
Yeah, smashing through them. So next week, we will be doing our own little sexual education biology
101
episode. Yeah, we're going to get all up in the magical lady cave.
And the wonders of the womb raider.
Yeah. Wow, that's an awful name for a penis.
I just love it because I love Tomb Raider. Like it's
right. Yeah. I mean.
But
sounds invasive.
Slightly. But some people are into that.
Yeah.
Again. Teach their own. Again.
Yeah, so
What's the Holly? Take it away.
Different strokes for different folks.
There you go.
We're just going to have to keep a counter going of how many times I say it in an episode.
Drinking game.
Yes, if you're listening along at home, drink. If you're at work, do doubles. Yeah, so thanks so much for joining us, guys. Hope you enjoyed our conversations, our rambling.
Feel free to join in and go on Twitter.
Definitely. Oh yeah, we follow us on all our socials.
Yeah.
Get up in our business. We'll link everything so you can check us out, support us, follow us, listen to us, join us. Just really become part of our little community.
Yeah,
It's the community of good sex. That's all we want. That's all I want in life.
Good sex. It's not a bad thing to stand for, you know?
No, good sex and hot cups of tea. That's
simple life. It's
Just
just
simple.
It's just a simple thing.
Simple things. easy women to please over here.
Thanks so much, guys. We really look forward to seeing you again soon.
Definitely, and we will have lots more content coming your way, in way of like fun promo videos and maybe some games to play along with us on Twitter. And we're going to be talking to you a lot and pestering you, so get on board. Get on board.
Join in.
All right, so peace out from us here at the Good Sex Podcast.